Got it.
And we're going live.
All right.
It's gonna go, here we go. Welcome, welcome. This is Merri Giesbrecht, and I am joined today with my friend, Merri Dueck. And Merri, oh my goodness, it's so good to see you and be with you on Zoom. The last time that we saw each other in person was probably 2019, is it? Wow.
I would think so. Maybe even 18. Yeah. Definitely
2018.
pre-COVID, that's for sure.
Yeah, that is for sure. So let me just tell everybody who you are. They probably know you more than they know me, but Merri has trained thousands of people around the world, and mostly in the Fraser Valley, where we both have lived, in hearing God's voice through classes and seminars and online training through Samuel's Mantle Prophetic School. And I got to be a part of that for 2 years myself, and then later worked in the office. So I got to hang out with you in the office.
It was awesome.
Yep. It was fun. And so Merri is the author of 4 books. One is If This Were a Dream, What Would It Mean? So I actually got most of them here. And this was a game changer for me, let me tell you. And then Keepers of the Presence. This one here talks about spiritual sensitivity and all kinds of things. My goodness, that was good. And then this one is one that I use regularly on Things Above. Yeah, it's a interactive journal, 52 encounters. So you could do one a week, pretty much. And that was also a huge game changer for me. And then you've got another one. I have it on digital, so I don't have it a picture, but
I should have had it in my hand.
Oh,
it's around here somewhere.
Oh.
But if this, the dreams we dream, and that's so much of it. In some ways almost a part 2 to that first book I wrote in 2006. If this were a dream, what would it mean? It's just how about what's going on in the night as our brain is processing information and as the Lord speaks, right? It's funny, like as Job says, I'm not sure which verse it is. It says, God does speak now one way, now another, in a dream, in a vision of the night, and it's every night, if you think about a few billion people dreaming, there's a lot of language being poured forth there. So I thought, good to have a book about that.
I know. Well, okay, and I haven't even told you this yet, Merri, but for the month of December, just last month, I got to take 2 groups of women over Zoom through just asking Jesus questions about their dreams.
Oh, wow.
And I was blown away. I was just absolutely blown away. Like, because it was taking a lot of what I've learned through this book and then applying from the strategies from your other books and my own relationship of hearing his voice and hearing him what questions to ask them about their dreams.
That's brilliant.
I was just blown away. So Merri has joined me today, and he's joining us next week at an event that you could join us, ladies from all over the place. And so I wanted Merri to come and jump on the Zoom today and just talk a little bit about how do we hear God through dreams according to what the Bible tells us? Does everybody dream, or just some people dream? Those kind of basic questions. So where do you want to start? You go for it.
Well, a couple of things we should probably just process with everybody watching, because I'm just going to assume that, the people coming are probably mostly Christians, or probably all Christians. But we don't get a lot of teaching about dreams in church, and why is that? And Joseph himself, while in prison, said, does not the interpretation of dreams come from God? Tell me your dreams. I mean, that's a big statement. There was a very famous rabbi about AD 200. And so if you're wanting to think, well, how do the Jewish people think? I mean, there's Joseph in the Bible, but Rabbi Hisda, Hisda, said, an uninterpreted dream is like an unread letter. And so that's a very Jewish, around the time of the church, way of thinking, and to think about it that way. And so, on Tuesday, when I'll be a part of your seminar, I'll give you some real personal examples of how it'll affect your life, and how do you deal with symbolism, and how do you apply it, and watch all the great things that happen. Um, and so, that'll give you something to look forward to. For now, let's just look at some of those questions. Our dreams for today. Why don't we remember our dreams? Who all dreams? What about symbolic language? So let's talk a little bit about that, because often we have this little voice in our head that, because of education or training or upbringing or life experience, it permits us to do things. It permits us or causes us not to experience things, like I can't hear God, or that's for everybody else, or I'm not very good at this. There's reasons we negate ourselves. And so dreams are a little bit like that. So let's talk about that first. Who all dreams? There's a big one, because a lot of people say, well, I don't dream. I never remember my dreams. Well, Harvard University and a lot of these big universities have done lots of studies on people. And they'll take people who say they don't dream, and they'll take them into a sleep lab, and they'll put diodes all over their heads, right? And then they watch, and you don't need diodes on your heads to see this, but often you'll see people sleep, and their eyes are looking at something. They're like watching a ping pong game or something, right? Because rapid eye movement is a experience in sleep. It's a certain level of the brainwave activity, and you can just watch somebody's eyes, and they're looking around at something. And so they wait for somebody to do that in the sleep lab, and they wake them up, and they put a tape recorder in front of them, and they say, share what was going on, and they share a dream. Well, in the morning they wake up and they go, no dreams, and they go, listen to this, and there's their own voice recorded telling a dream, and they're like, I have no memory of that, but it's them, and they had a dream. So what's going on? Partly it is that in our society, we've been very much taught when we wake up in the morning to think A, B, C, D. I'm going to get up. I go to work. I got to get the kids ready. I got to let the dog out. I've got to, right? You're thinking forwards. And what happens with dreams, though, you got to, believe it or not, when you wake up, you got to learn how to think backwards. You got to learn how to think D, how does it go? E, D, C, B, A. You got to think backwards. So you lay in bed, and you kind of got to learn to kind of take a moment and roll back over to your favorite sleep position, because in your favorite sleep position, you're actually in a different brainwave pattern, right? And then you just kind of got to learn to draw back. So what happened? Do I have a feeling about what happened in the night? Do I even have a little snippet of a picture? And then what came before that? And what came before that? And what came before that? And you learn to draw it back. And as you do, it comes back. Now, here is how that works. So before I say how that works, so what they've discovered, this rapid eye movement, you'll realize everybody does that. Everybody. And matter of fact, they've learned now in sleep studies, if they don't let somebody go into the rapid eye movement, which is a dream state, if they don't let them do it, people will start exhibiting signs of nervous breakdown. Because in rapid eye movement, your brain is actually processing information, and it needs to do that. And it happens in a dream state. And that if they let somebody fall asleep, they'll have to make up all their REM time. If it's over 4 or 5 days, they're going to need to make up 5 hours worth of REM sleep before they can go back into a deep sleep. Without the ability to dream, you cannot sleep deeply. You can't. And matter of fact, they've discovered now that humans beings actually dream themselves into becoming human beings. Babies' dreams of kids are about physical development, motor skills. Dreams of teenagers are about social development. Dreams of adults, and you actually work through the process of becoming in your dream life. Now, remembering and dreaming are two different things. So, and the thing is, we've taught ourselves not to remember. So, and we'll just talk about that in a second, but the average person dreams 45 minutes to an hour and a half every night. So when you have these big REM cycles, it starts off over 8 hours, 5 minutes, and then so every 90 minutes, you're cycling through your sleep cycle. And again, REM is one series of the dream stage. There's a few others too. But after 8 hours of sleep, going through these cycles, you're dreaming between 45 minutes to an hour and a half. Everybody, right? And some people, if you're a real deep sleeper, all you need to tell them to do is like, I think it was Thomas Edison. You learn how to nap, because when you nap, you don't start your dream cycle all over again. You pick up where you left it off the night before. So if you've done 6 hours of sleep, maybe your dream cycle is half an hour. You go sleep for a while, you're picking up the next 45 minutes, but you're not sleeping so deeply, and your dreams come back. But just think about
I do that in my nap time. I do at 2 o'clock in my phone. I have a reminder of like, go have a holy nap with Jesus. And so I go and I have a nap, and I find that is probably the time that he speaks to me the most in my nap. So it carries over just like what you described. And it's pretty amazing what happens.
So Thomas Edison, this big inventor, what he would do to get his inventions, and you can read this about his life, is he would put himself in his favorite chair, like sitting up with an armrest, and he would put a big metal pot on the floor, put his arm on the armrest, and have a handful of steel ball bearings. And then as he would go into a sleep, he'd sit in his chair, and as he would start to drop, his arm would relax, and the ball bearings would fall into the pan. It would make such a loud noise, it would wake him up, and he would write down anything that he saw in his brain at that moment. And he came up with a phonograph, electricity, everything. That's how he did it, because he realized something was, God was, I'm not sure if he would say it was the Lord. I would hope he would, but he was getting communication. And I remember them saying to John Paul Jackson, who was this big preacher way back when he was in Kansas City, we need to hear what the Lord's saying. Go have a nap. Come back and tell us. And see, one of the things that hinders us having dreams, think about that. For you listening, is a nap a waste of time? Are there things you should be doing? Is it a thing about avoidance? Or is it a chance to hang out with the Lord? Now, see, if your brain goes, oh, it's avoidance, it's a waste of time, I feel guilty, I should be doing things. That right there is what's robbing your dream life, right? Because what it's saying is that anything that happens in your sleep, delete it so you can get on with your day. We need to delete this because we're too busy. And it just shows it. And see, we're taught those things. Those are things that we're taught, from culture growing up. And we can outgrow them, right? So it's the same part of your brain that let's say you're watching your favorite TV show, whether that be sports or whatever, and your spouse comes up to you in the middle of your TV show and says, hey, can you take out the garbage, or can you go get the kids' stuff ready? And you're like, yes, dear, But you don't remember a single thing they said to you, right? Because your brain is trained to focus on what you consider valuable. So whatever you consider is the most valuable, it's going to delete everything else, including your dreams. So the part of your brain that does that is called a reticular activating system, and it takes in about 60 billion bytes of information a second. So right now it's, wherever you are, if the cat's meowing, it's trying to ignore that, or the temperature of the room, or how your body feels sitting in the chair so you can hear me. So the main job of your brain is to cut stuff out. But what you begin to value, it starts to remember, including dreams. So like if you're a hairdresser or interior designer, you like colors, or you really care about your friends' emotions. If you're an interior designer, you're going to walk into a house and go, oh, the colors, we could do this and this. Or if you're a hairdresser, you'll be looking at people's hair all the time. What you've trained yourself to do, you automatically will see it, right? Because your brain goes, this is a very, very high value. Therefore, we better record this. And it works that way for dreams. All that has to happen sometimes to record dreams is change the value and really want it. Those who hunger and thirst will be filled, and it comes back, right? It's the part of your brain. I'll just share one little piece and you can ask me a question. It's the part of your brain. It's called what is it called again? Perspective memory. So it's that part of your brain when you're going to work and you're like, oh, I didn't buy coffee. Oh, or milk. I didn't buy milk at the grocery store. Remember, after work, buy milk. But of course you don't remember. You drive by the grocery store and you go, grocery store, grocery store. I'm supposed to buy something. What is it? You go into the grocery store and you're walking along and you see something kind of like milk, like you see butter or yogurt. You're like, oh, it's milk. It comes back. It comes back. Dream memory is just like that. You store it up, right? and your value system. And we need to record this, and it comes back just like that. And you know what? It's a skill you learn. You just got to learn that skill by value, and that it's important and it's God speaking, and you will remember your dreams because they're there and you're having them. But
yeah, it's been fascinating. Like these women, some of the women that I've been coaching in groups, and we're talking like Canada, US, all over the world, some different areas and different backgrounds. Okay.
oh, very
And
nice.
so we have some women who are like, yeah, I never dream, or I don't remember my dream. And I gave them permission to, before bed, just, worship the Lord, focus, don't like look at anything else but Jesus, and focusing on him and just talking with him, and then asking him for a dream, and telling him, okay, Lord, if you have a dream for me, I'm ready. And they said that night, like they had dreams. And so what's been happening is there's been this increase, not only in my groups, but even in my private clients. They said, so I had a dream last night. And in fact, just before I met with you, I had a couple of clients, and one of them said, so I just had a dream last night, and it was amazing what Jesus did. So yeah, just that, hunger and thirst, like being open to receiving a dream from the Lord seems
just
to make
that
that
alone
big shift.
changes so much.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And I have a whole bunch of clients. I'll meet them every couple of weeks, let's say,
Mhm.
and they'll be like, I haven't dreamed for 2 weeks, but the night before I meet you, I get a dream. And it happens all the time. But see, their
Mhm.
brain has told them, oh, you're meeting tomorrow, we better get something. So it records it because suddenly it's valuable because they know I'm going to ask them.
Yeah, that's
But
awesome.
yeah, sometimes just putting a pen and a paper beside your bed,
Mhm.
there's a bunch of things you can do to remember your dreams. But one of them is just exactly what you said, Mary Ellen. Just thank God, open your heart, spend some time in worship. Get your get your head out of the daily grind and onto the Lord, and then and put a journal. I really like a very nice journal, something that to me inspires me by how it looks and how it feels, not just
Yeah.
any rotty piece of paper, right? This means something to me, and
Yeah.
I put it beside my bed, and I'm like, I'm prepared, I'm ready, and that helps get that part that memorizes dreams at heart. It helps kick it into gear. I mean, there's a list of like 20 things you can do, but that's a really good practical one. 1 and 2, worship, get your heart at peace, and then get that journal and a pen beside your bed, and just in the morning, whatever it is, Lord, I'll write it down. If it starts by a feeling, if it starts by a picture, you just write down the little bits, right? If you're faithful in little, God will give you more, and it'll
Yeah.
expand. Your brain will start to go, this is important, is it? Okay, we better start making space.
Yeah.
And
Well, in fact, just in the chat, I noticed that Sue Carpenter, she's one of our students in the groups, and she said that when I had announced that we were going to focus on dreams, not even like taught yet, when I had announced that we were going to focus on dreams, that night she had a dream, wrote it down when she woke up, and there it was. And it was like, it's been crazy, just seriously, that simple switch that has happened of,
oh, that's wonderful.
it's almost like you say, here's another language that God speaks to us through.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to really see it that way, that it is a language. And that's another thing I think that throws people, because it's, Proverbs 25:2 says, it's a glory of God to hide a matter, a glory of a king to search it out. So in our culture, we're very much, memorizing information. That's what we want to do. We want it to make sense. How do I get from point A to point B? What's the road? What's the path? What's the speed limit? But dreams aren't like that. You have to spend time with God. You have to ponder. You have to be willing not to know, maybe for a little while. And some people makes them feel like a failure, or they're out of control. But see, it doesn't say in that verse it's the glory of man to figure something out. It's the glory of God to search. I mean, sorry, the glory of a king to search. That God really likes. It's like playing hide and seek to him. He likes this game. And for him, it's time spent together working on something. He sees it as a relational journey, not as just trying to pump him for answers. And once you make it about the journey and not just figuring something out with your brain, dream work becomes incredible. you have a dream and somebody calls you up and starts to talk about the stuff in your dream. Like, how do you know I had this dream? Like, it just a sense of awe, or you're driving down the street and there's a scene on a billboard that was in your dream that night. Like, how is that possible? Who put that there? I mean, the sense of awe that it can create, that God is sovereign and he knows what he's speaking, it's remarkable. It's so beyond just getting information. It's a relationship with a real, true, living being speaking this language that draws you into relationship. Because what could it mean? You're pondering, and you know what? That's how the New Testament church was born. This trance that Peter fell into, right? He's sitting there pondering it, revolving it around in his head, and these three guys show up, right? And I'll tell you a cool little story. How about that? Just fits right there. So a trance kind of is you start awake and God kind of knocks you out. Oh, you're down, and then you're back. That's kind of shut up for a moment. I got something to say. So it's and the Lord does stuff like that. And so we're doing a conference, Mary Ellen, you helped out with a bunch, and people would sign up for prophetic ministry. So they'd sign up for a 15 minutes of ministry. And so we'd have people in these teams of 4, and someone would sit down for 15 minutes and you'd pray for them, and they'd get up and the next one would sit down, right? And the next one, and you would do 6 people in the morning and another 6 in the afternoon. So, 2 sets of hour and a half. So most people would only do morning or afternoon. We had this one young guy. He's the guy that fell into the trance. You'll get the story how it fits here in a second. He had so much fun. He was about 18, 19 at the time. He wanted to come back and join another team in the afternoon. And I'm like, okay, it's a lot. It's 3 hours in one day. Are you sure? He goes, yeah, I want to do this. So he comes back and he sits down. The team is like, for him, middle-aged ladies, and it's just him, this teenage guy. And he's like, oh, this is a little bit nervous. And this lady sits down to get ministry, and he falls asleep in the chair. He's like out, like snoring. And suddenly he wakes up and goes, oh my goodness, this is embarrassing, right? Like, oh, all these ladies are staring at me. He goes, and he had a dream. He goes, maybe and he's just trying to save his own skin at this point. He doesn't know it means anything. He's just so embarrassed, figures he should say something. I just had this dream. And in the dream, I saw this gumball machine, and it had peanuts in it. I used to have little peanut machines. You put in a nickel, and these 2 peanuts rolled out and hit the ground. And the third peanut came and it started to fall out, and this hand reached out and caught it. And the lady that came for ministry starts to weep. And she goes, you don't understand why I'm here today. I've had 2 miscarriages, and I'm asking God to reach out his hand and grab this baby and save it. And of course, a little baby, a little fetus, looks like a little peanut, right?
A little peanut. Oh my goodness.
And that little dream and that little moment totally redid that lady's relationship with the Lord and put some faith back in her. That's the power of a dream right there.
And it's probably, it was more memorable and spoke right to her spirit.
Yeah.
More than if he would have been awake.
Absolutely.
and praying and ministering to her. So that's encouraging. Wow.
Well, just look at the symbolism of what a peanut looks like to a fetus. I mean, it wasn't lost on her. Symbolic language, like she totally or falling and the hand catching, she'd use that same language word for word. Symbolic language, yes, but full of meaning. And again, a picture really does tell 1,000 words, and dreams are for that purpose. They connect right there.
Yeah,
if we value them.
Yeah, I remember when I was learning from you, recently I took the women through this whole thing around December, it's 2:22 p.m. Merri.
Oh, it is. Number.
Anyway, I know. Anyway, around the birth of Jesus, and just all the dreams around the birth of Jesus.
Yeah.
And if any one of them hadn't occurred, wow.
What happened to Jesus?
Yeah.
That's a really good thing for everyone to look at, because we don't have any dreams written that Jesus had, but we sure have a lot of dreams around Jesus, right? So if you look at what Mary Ellen's talking about, Matthew 1 and 2, you look at these dreams, and when I would share it in the class, I say to them, I'm gonna read this passage between Matthew 1, Magi showing up, and end of Matthew 2, where they move, where the Holy Family moves back to Galilee. how many dreams are there? And there's 5 dreams recorded there. 5.
Yeah.
And if you take any one of those dreams out, Jesus dies. Or at least he becomes an Egyptian, because, you know, if they didn't move back, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
very significant. And again, if you look at the birth of the New Testament church, God didn't send down a big list of heaven. Okay, temple, we don't need that anymore. Oh, Gentiles, we're going to let those guys in. Feasts, let's get rid of them. No didactic information. All symbolism that God confirmed after the fact, right? And the Lord still does that if we're listening. Very powerful. Those are all life-shaking things. And you know, John Sanford, who was a real forerunner in the prophetic, he had a ministry called Elijah House, and a great book called The Elijah Task. He would say that if you look at the occurrence of dream and vision in biblical leaders' lives, Joseph, Solomon, Jacob, you know, Paul the Apostle, if you look at these events, it was at that time they became the man or woman of God they needed to be for the upcoming season. They were shaped, they were changed, that this encounter defined where they were going and what they were called to do. And when you look at the dreams in scripture around these people's lives, you really see that's the impact. And you know what? That's why they're recorded in the Bible, because biblical times people saw a dream and vision that way. And just like that little story I just shared, the Lord's still doing that. Still.
Oh my goodness. The other example that you just shared. So Sue Carpenter, who's on the chat, she just on the same page on my Facebook page, just yesterday afternoon, posted a live talking about how she had received this dream that she thought was totally insignificant. And then we walked through it together, and it turned out to be an absolute destiny dream.
Wow.
She's like, I thought it was just a pizza dream. But it was total destiny, and it was amazing. And all of us, as the Lord was unpacked, so we did this in a group session, and as the Lord was revealing this to her, we all, I mean, we're like, what? I was getting goosebumps.
Wow.
Because it was not just even in her life, but it was a message that the Lord was giving to a broader audience. That, and here it was, a dream that she thought was just one of her little old insignificant dreams.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Yeah.
It's, you know, it's quite often, that's quite often the case how that happens. And you know, it's funny, the Lord often checks with us, you know, how because again, it's a glory of God to hide a matter. Why is he hiding things? The glory of a king to search it out. And the reason he hides things, often he wants to know, is it, you know, is it how you've got your daily life set up, that you feel secure, and your friendship circles? Is that what gives you your sense of confidence? Or is it listening to me? If it's outside of your box, are you still listening? If it's symbolism you don't understand, you have value to hear. And he checks these things, right? So, because the glory of a king, and the Lord's saying to be able to see outside of your little walls into this bigger world, that's kingly. That's a kingly thing. And when you see people connect like that, like where you're talking about, like Sue there, it's a kingly experience. You realize that I have a destiny that's so much bigger than just this little earth. And you get it. You step into that. You really feel it and experience it. And the Lord has that for everybody who's willing to value this somewhat in enigmatic language, you know?
Yeah.
And
I love
really
how you talk
hidden.
about the searching, and like how he draws you in, like even how Jesus taught with parables. He taught to draw people in and look for the meaning. It was like on a treasure hunt, right? I love treasure hunts with Jesus.
It's exactly, that's the best way to think about it. If you search me, you shall find me with all your heart. But the searching is a thing. It's treasure hunt. It really is. And dreams really are that.
Yeah.
And you know what? You don't always even get the interpretation right away. Sometimes it might be a few weeks. I'll share a journey on Tuesday to kind of lay how all that works, the puzzle within a puzzle kind of thing. But
wow.
But once you get, it's not the discovery, it's the searching that's important. that then it's like, wow, we're playing a game. We're on a treasure hunt. Brilliant way to think about it.
Yeah. Well, I am so looking forward to having you join all of us on Tuesday. Whether, we're going to have people, honestly, we've had people all over the world in our last few events, 5-day events. And so Merri's joining us on Tuesday. Officially, he may even pop in other places too, who knows, but who
You
knows?
never know.
But so I just invite whoever's watching, even if you think, you don't dream, come and learn how to dream and how to value your dreams and what God thinks of dreams and how he wants to speak to you. I just love how often, if he doesn't get our attention when we're awake, he speaks to us in the night. It's just like, okay, I got to go in through another avenues because you're not paying attention when you're awake. So yeah, I just invite anyone watching, all these women who are watching, whether you're live or on the replay, first of all, just drop in the comments and say hi to Merri, and then use the link in the description of this video and sign up and come and play with us and explore and hunt treasure together next week. So thanks so much for watching. Merri, thanks so much for joining me today.
Oh,
and
you're
I'll
welcome.
see you next week.
I will see you all next week. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.